Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can get some guy to come on up. Come on. Let's go up. Come on. There you go. Now guys, one of the tricks to telling how long an alligator is, if you look at the distance between his eyes and his nose, excuse me, in inches, that's going to translate directly into feet. So how many inches have we got between the eyes and the nose there?
6? No, 4.
Yeah, that's more like, I wish my
5.
wife...
10
Anyway, yeah, that's about 4 inches, and that means that you stretch him out, he's about 4 feet long. Now it takes them about they grow about a foot a year for the first 6 years, and after that it takes about 4 years for each foot after that. Come on, come on. Now one thing I want you to notice, when they open their mouth, you can't see down the back of their throat. The whole back of their mouth is white. The reason for that is he's got a valve in the back of his mouth called a glottis. Now that glottis shuts off his throat so that he can actually eat his prey, grab his prey underwater without having all that water rush down his throat. Once he gets his prey in his mouth, closes his jaws up, then he can open that glottis and swallow his prey. It enables him to grab his prey underwater. Now you see all those little squares on his back? Now he's got all these ridges on his back. Those ridges, think of that like an air conditioning coil. Those ridges, if you were to stretch his skin out flat, his skin would be twice as wide as his body. They're cold-blooded, so they control their temperature by external means. They absorb sunlight to warm up. When they get too hot, down to the bottom of the water where the water is coolest, and they let that cool themselves down. All that surface area helps to more efficiently absorb or release temperature. And if you notice, they're like little squares. It's like little solar panels. Each one of those squares, the capillaries come right up to the surface of the skin there. So it helps them to transfer or release heat or absorb heat into their body. So at 6 feet, he's about 6 years old. Once they get to about 8 feet, you got 6 years for the first 6 feet. 4 years for each foot after that, so for the next 2 feet, 8 years or so. So you got a 6 foot gator, 6 years old. An 8 foot gator, you got an alligator out there that's probably about 14, 15 years old.
How long does it live, an alligator?
An alligator, barring any external circumstances, and there are a lot of them, can actually live to be about 70 years old. Now, one thing that you guys need to know about alligators, if anybody calls these things a crocodile, you get thrown off the boat. I'm sorry, a little moisture up there. Hey, it's a swamp. We don't have crocodiles up here, and the reason we don't have crocodiles up here is because this year alone in Louisiana we had over a solid month of sub-freezing weather. And I'm talking down to like 20 degrees out here this last winter. Alligators can do something crocodiles can't do. It's called bremation. It's kind of like hibernation, but because they're cold-blooded. What happens is once it gets down to a constant 65 degrees temperature, as it drops down, alligators know it's wintertime coming on, it's getting too cold. They'll get out of the water and they'll dig themselves a pit somewhere up in the swamp, and they'll sit in there and they'll let that cold weather just take over and drop their metabolism down lower and lower. Once it gets down to freezing, their heart rate will go down to less than 2 beats a minute. And they're like comatose, but they can ride out freezing weather. They can actually sit in a pond of frozen water. As long as their head is a little bit above the water to breathe, they'll just sit there in a comatose kind of a state. Crocodiles cannot do that. And that's why we don't have crocodiles up here. You can find crocodiles anywhere along the equatorial belt of the entire globe, from India to South America. But you don't have alligators this far north, because the cold weather will kill them off. Once it gets down to about a little bit below 40 degrees, a crocodile can't sustain his metabolism and he drops dead. Now, you saw, as we go down this borrow, this is what we call a borrow canal, folks. This is actually a man-made canal. You can tell because it's nice and straight. Nothing in Louisiana is straight, including our politicians, but that's not a story. This canal was dug out of here for the soil to help build the highway out here. Now, as we go out the canal here, I want to cover a couple of safety points. First off, while we're going out in the swamp, we're going to be out here for about 2 hours. The first one, that bow you see up there that looks like a nice deck up there, please don't sit on that. The Coast Guard requires that to be kept clear at all times. If I land the boat, I'll let you get up there to take photographs, but please don't sit up on it. I'll get a traffic ticket, $500, and I don't need that. Number 2, you saw how our friends, our gators, jumped out of the water there for marshmallows and hot dogs. This, folks, is my hand. Magic trick, ta-da, my hand magically transforms into 5 hot dogs on a stick. So please keep the hands inside the rails.
Okay.
I'm not worried about alligators really, but I'm going to get us really close with some trees and vegetation. If you've got your hand out here, I brush up against a tree or some sawgrass, you're going to get a paper cut or a straight knuckle, and then you're going to sue me and I'll die a miserable death till we broke. So please keep your hands inside the rail. Now,